A Nashville man is dead after crashing his SUV going the wrong way on I-40 overnight. The Highway Patrol says 21-year-old Joshua Hampton was driving on the shoulder of the westbound lanes but was heading eastbound. Investigators say he crashed into a guardrail near Kingston Springs. He was not wearing a seatbelt, but investigators don't think it would have made a difference in this case. THP says it was not clear whether Hampton had been drinking. Toxicology tests have been ordered. Another deadly accident, this one involving a motorcycle. The THP was on the scene of this crash just before 9 this morning on Academy Road at Highway 109. A motorcycle and a truck crashed, closing the road for a time, but it's now reopened. The victim's identity is not being released yet. A pedestrian was hit this morning around a busy area in South Nashville. Early reports were that a student was hit by a car at the intersection of Antioch Pike at South Lake Drive, very close to Glencliff High School. Sky 5 was over the scene around 7 this morning, and you can see someone on a stretcher being loaded into the ambulance. No official word on any injuries. Cleanup continues this morning at the site of that levee that burst in Benton County. Sky 5 shows us just how massive that breach was, with mud and water crashing down. A levee near Highway 7 in Camden burst late Sunday, washing out railroad tracks and derailing an engine and 14 empty coal cars. During the peak of all of this, the whole area was under 1.5 feet of water. 2 CSX railroad employees were hurt. Thankfully, their injuries were minor. Crews are going to be back out this morning repairing the tracks and hope to have it all fixed by late this afternoon. Good news for another one of the nurses who treated Ebola patients. Craig Boswell has the very latest on her improving condition and the debate over how to prevent the virus from spreading in the U.S.
Dallas nurse Amber Vinson is Ebola-free and going home from Emory University Hospital in Atlanta today. She caught the virus treating Thomas Duncan of Liberia, who died earlier this month. And the nurse who was forced into quarantine in New Jersey is back home in Fort Kent, Maine. Local officials want Casey Hickox to avoid going out until the 21-day incubation period for Ebola is up. Her lawyer is trying to convince them that a day or two at home is enough. Hickox tested negative for the virus and says she feels fine. The latest developments come as the CDC has updated its Ebola guidelines for health workers returning from treating patients in West Africa. The new guidelines now classify travelers into 4 risk categories. Health workers who treated patients using personal protective equipment pose some risk, while those who had direct contact with bodily fluids are considered high risk. They'll be monitored by officials for signs of infection, and there will be restrictions about going out in public and taking commercial transportation. President Obama has told his Ebola team that government policies should not discourage healthcare workers from going to West Africa to fight the virus. So far, at least 6 states have come up with their own guidelines for mandatory quarantines. The White House says Ebola response coordinator Ron Klain has been working behind the scenes and is meeting with CDC officials in Atlanta this week. Craig Boswell, CBS News, the White House.
Back here, more heated debate is expected today on plans for the controversial AMP transit system here in Nashville. The AMP Citizens Advisory Committee has been hosting ongoing conversations about the proposed changes. The AMP bus route would connect riders from the west part of town all the way to East Nashville. Mayor Carl Dean is expected to be in attendance. The meeting is in about an hour and a half, or half an hour really, at noon at the Howard School building on 2nd Avenue in the Sunny West Conference Room.